Good afternoon. This is Susana Bauman from Latinas in Business. I have the pleasure to welcome today Dr. Ginny Baro. Dr. Baro is, first of all, a Latinas in Business member, and she's an award-winning international motivational speaker, leadership coach, career strategist, and the number one best-selling author of her first book, Fearless Women at Work. So she has been named one of the top 100 global thought leaders. And what she does in her spare time is to help leaders in Fortune 500 companies build inclusive leadership dream teams. Ginny, welcome. It's always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Susana. Thank you so much for having me today to talk about healing leadership. I'm so excited.
I know when you told me you were publishing your second book, I thought, what an incredible commitment, because publishing a book is a commitment of energy and time, but also it's a commitment of your knowledge. And it's one of the most vulnerable situations where someone can put themselves in, showing who you are to the
Yeah,
world, and be ready to be judged, right? So those are the things that are that makes writing a book a very tough task. Tell me a little bit more about, when is this book coming out?
So the book is coming out. Healing Leadership launches on April 14th, 2021. I can't wait.
I can imagine. And I know it is a very exciting book because you have included a very important topic, a very current, a timely topic, healing leadership. And also you have invited a few of people to be part of the book. So tell me, what triggered the idea of the book? How did you come up with the need to write this book?
So in the middle of the pandemic, back in around May of 2020, I was getting ready to launch my Fearless Leaders Challenge. It's a 5-day training that I do for my business, and it's wildly successful. As I was preparing for that challenge, I thought about interviewing 5 leaders who could help us understand what are the critical skills that leaders need right now in the middle of a pandemic where there's so much uncertainty. And what can companies do to develop their leaders and their talent during this time when people are virtual? And what can leaders do to develop a unique edge? Those were the 3 questions that I was very curious about. So I went through the 5 interviews, and when I finished, I started to write out a framework for the Fearless Leaders Challenge. Like, what am I going to talk about during these 5 days of training? But what I realized is that intuitively, what I wrote out was the table of contents for a new book, not for a 5-day challenge. There were way too many subjects to be covered in 5 days. And that was the genesis of healing leadership.
Okay.
And it was appropriate for the time because we were going through so much in our government. We were going through so much. I know in the last 30 years that I've been around working, I had been exposed to so many different types of leaders. And I knew from that experience that leaders make or break an organization, and that so many of us leaders never received a manual of how to be great leaders. And so this became my goal to not only talk about my experiences, but also bring other leaders' experiences to be part of this project. And that's how you got involved in this book, and 40 other leaders along with you.
Yes, and I thank you very much for the opportunity, because it was fun to do the podcast, and then to read the result of the interview was really very humbling, let's say.
Yes.
Now, Jeannie, what is the core topic of healing leadership? What do you think leadership needs to be healed?
So yes, in the title, healing leadership, it implies that there's healing to be done. So the healing to be done, from my perspective, is that there is disease in leadership today. And like as I mentioned, there we were never taught, we were never trained to be good, great leaders and inclusive leaders. If we're lucky to have a good role model, then we luck out. But if we don't have a good role model that we can emulate, we end up doing a lot of things that create the toxic work cultures, that marginalize people at work, and that, quite frankly, doesn't do justice to the talent that we are leading. And so that is really the core of all the topics that I discuss in the book have to do with how do we show up as leaders in a way that, rather than create a toxic culture, it cultivates the type of inclusive culture that allows all of our talent to flourish based on their qualities and their abilities. But that we as leaders cultivate those talents so that we can coach, mentor, and develop them so that those that have what it takes can rise to the top and continue the leading legacy, be able to lead our teams to higher productivity, to be more cohesive, to collaborate, to innovate, and do all the things that we need our businesses to do to survive and thrive.
Very, very interesting. Now, you mentioned that you started with 5 interviews,
Yes.
right? And then you ended having 41 interviews.
Yes.
So how did you select the people who were going to be part of your book, number one? And second, what was the reaction when you extended the invitation?
So, number one, I just want to say that if you have any project where you're thinking of involving other people, people, I think by nature, meet their need for contribution when they say yes to you. And so, number one is I made sure that the topic was interesting, healing leadership. Everybody said, I'll talk about that, right? Everybody has an opinion about what critical skills leaders need. Everybody has an opinion as to how they should be developing leaders, and everyone has an opinion about how to develop a unique edge, because the leaders that I asked, they had all done all of those things. So I went out with the goal of finding diversity. I wanted to include the voices of leaders who were just emerging and leaders who had retired. So I speak to Nicole, who's only been in business for 4 years out of college. And I speak to Jerome and Nick D'Onofrio, who ran IBM and who also were the CEO of Sealed Air, the inventor of bubble wrap. So everything in between, including Susana Bowman, the leader of Latinas in Business, of course, and Pilar Avila, who's her own, as we know, everybody who knows Pilar, she's running Renovat, and she is really transforming how women show up as leaders in business. And so when you get such a beautiful array of people from different sectors, profit, nonprofit, from different industry, from financial services to pharma, all over the place, I believe that that was going to give the book nice texture and background and speaks to the value of diversity and inclusion.
Right. Correct. And you said that you seldom got a rejection, that you were not really.
Everybody that I asked said yes, with the exception of a handful of people, and it was due to their schedule. Right. Because they could not finagle the logistics due to whatever was happening with their schedule. But everybody that I asked said yes, which was amazing and so generous of them. So
which gives you a fantastic opportunity to showcase, like you said, a very, very wide range of opinions and attitudes towards leadership, and also different modalities and different styles of leadership, which is important for people to be able to choose. Well, this is my type of leadership that I can follow and service.
Absolutely.
So, Yeah. So, Ginny, tell me, just to end this little interview, because we're going to write a feature article with more expanded version of the interview, like you did in your book.
Yes.
You're leading us already. Yeah.
Exactly.
What is the main takeaway? Why do I have to buy the book? Why?
For me, it's really about what I mentioned. We did not get a leadership manual when we became leaders. And I believe that leadership is a skill that can be developed. Like anything with when it comes to self-development, when we take our self-development seriously and we identify what are those leadership skills, communication, empathy, empowering our team, setting the vision, being the conduits for change and transformation, leading with flexibility, all those skills that are so important as leaders, that once we know what they are, we can become that type of leader. And if we're not leading in our business roles right now, guess what? We are all leaders in our own life. So, my biggest takeaway and desire for this book is for people to have this roadmap and they can assess how am I doing against these critical leadership skills. And if they don't have one of those skills, they know and they have the tools in the book to acquire the skills and the resources, because I'm also creating a wonderful community of leaders where they can reach out to any of the 41 leaders, including myself, and learn more and continue to expand their network, which is one of the topics that I discuss at length in the book. How to build an inclusive network of allies and supporters that will support your career and that will help you reach your full potential, because we cannot do this alone. And if we even try, we will find out that we will fail really fast.
Correct. Yes, we have to create these networks of collaboration among leaders, among businesses, among women, among
Yeah,
all the qualifiers or the labels that you can imagine, because that's when you get the momentum that is necessary to develop that the type
absolutely.
of leadership that we want for our children, for our employees, for our communities, right? And
Absolutely.
that's the attitude of service that you have had for many, many years. And I commend you
Thank you.
extremely for that. I think you are really a brilliant professional in
Thank
what
you.
you do. And congratulations on the new book. And I'm sold, not only because I'm on it, but I will. Okay.
Thank you, Susanna. And I'm always so grateful to
So,
you.
no, of course, of course, and we will have the book on the cover of Latinas in Business, and on the article as well, so that where people can find the book.
They will be able to find everything related to the book, the bonuses that are going to be associated with the book, the downloads, the community at healingleadership.com. That's the place to go.
HealingLeadership.com.
That's
Okay,
it.
great having you, Ginny.
Thank you,
Great
Susanna.
success. I'm sure you're not going to need that, but you're going to have it anyway.
Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much, Susanna. I'll
Fantastic.
see you
Fantastic.
soon.
Thank you.